Hi, my name is adewale. I'm one of the directors at Ellsworth Properties Limited in the UK. At Ellsworth Properties, we invest in properties ourselves, and we also work with property investors who are looking to build up their property portfolios or investors who are looking to start on the journey on property investment. We also work with landlords or investors that already built up portfolios over the year, looking to offload those properties. Either they want to retire, they want to move on, they want to relocate, or whatever reason why they are trying to do that. And we also work with them to implement strategies that could help them to get better return on their property investments. In this video, I'm going to be talking about what we call buy, refurbish, refinance, and rent. It's a very popular acronym that is used in the property investment. You see BRRR or BRRR or whatever way you want to call it, right? It's very popular in the property investment world, especially in the United Kingdom, right? But then for newbies or any other people that have actually not explored that before, I decided to choose this video to share what buy, refurbish, refinance, rent means. Now, typically, when you're buying property in the UK, or you either be a cash buyer or you want to buy property as with mortgage. So there are a few different ways you can buy property apart from being cash buyer or mortgage. You can also either control an existing property portfolio. In another video, I talked about that, but I'm going to be focusing on buy, refurbish, refinance, and rent in this video. So what it typically means that is you buy property that people really don't would want to go after to buy. It could be either because these properties have some works that needs to be done on them, or there are some problem. We call them problem properties. So when I'm talking about problem properties, it doesn't necessarily mean that that property is a haunted house or it has some issues that is going to make you to break your back or whatever it is. But it's more of like either the property needs an updating on it. Could be new carpet, painting, just need some love to make the property more attractive to your traditional buyers. I'm talking about first-time buyers or any other person that's looking to buy property and not thinking about investments, right? So things like either the bathroom need updating, the kitchen need updating, you need to add an extra room to it, just something like that. And it could either go to the extent of whether you have a property that you've had for quite a while and you just couldn't find a buyer for that property. And that could be either because the work, the perceived work required to get to the standard that's more attractive, it seems to be too daunting. But if you as an investor, you actually have solutions. So we see ourselves as a solution to the issues right there, to those problem property. And we also get a good returns for that. So buying properties that are actually problematic, it could be advantage. So when it comes to buy, refurbish, refinance, you buy such properties, and the refurbishment, I wouldn't say only refurbishing in terms of like just fixing the kitchen, put a new kitchen or bathroom or extension. It could, I'll also put it as giving a solution, right? Solving the problem that actually is attached to that property, which makes it to be unattractive either to buyers or even to lenders, right? So it's not only buyers, the property can actually be chasing away because of the issue at lenders also might not want to lend because of the issue that is attached to that property. So the refurbished side of it, which is the buy refurbish, the refurbished side of this is fixing that problem. It could either be you, like I said, it could either be adding a new kitchen to somebody that has an issue with kitchen. It could be put a new boiler. It could be things like adding a new bathroom, you know, just some uplifting to the property to make it more attractive and livable, right? And also lenders want to lend to also that property, and also buyers will be willing to buy it, and also tenants will also be willing to want to pay the asking price of the rent you're actually requiring for that property. So that is the refurbished side of things of the buy refurbish. Now, then the refinance is in what tends to happen when you're buying properties which are properties under this strategy of buy, refurbish, refinance is because those properties are not attractive to lenders, they tend not to want to kind of lend towards them, right? So property that has got maybe Japanese knotweed, for example, attached to it. This is it's common in the UK in some areas where you have Japanese knotweed, and those properties, the risk that the structure of those properties could be affected because of this plan. So lenders might not want to borrow towards that property. So by buying the property, it means that you can't get money to finance it via lender. You can either do what we call bridging loan, or you actually have cash, either cash of your own, or you joint venture with other investors and you buy that property cash. Such properties, because the buyer wants to actually sell them because of the issue, and they're not getting people to pay money for them, they tend to be discounted, and you have more strength. You have more power over the bargaining and negotiation when it comes to such property, because the seller really want to sell. The seller want to sell that property real quick, so they'll be willing to take a big hit in that property. Let's assume the property that you found is £100,000 market value. That is the market value of that property if it not have that issue, right? You now got it for, let's assume, because you're a cash buyer, you have more power, and the seller really want to sell that property, you end up buying that property for £60,000, which is £40,000 below the market value of that property. Now let's assume the issue with this property is the case that it needs new boiler, it needs the kitchen refurbished in that sense. So you buy the property cash, and that's where the refurbishment coming, which is where you fixing the issue is you now fix that issue, put a new kitchen into it, buy a new boiler into it. Let's assume all the costs, including buying fees, everything comes to about £15,000, which means all in your £60,000 of buying the property, including all costs and refurbish and fixing the issues, which is what attached to that property, £15,000, which means that you have £75,000, which you have actually paid to get that property. That is the cost to you. Remember, the property on its own, if you hadn't had this issue, would be worth £100,000. Now, the property is now attractive because you have fixed the issue, right? Because property is now attractive, it's not only attractive to buyer, they are now willing to pay the actual price it is worth for that property. Also, lenders will be attracted to lend you based on the market value of that property. You've spent £75,000 on acquiring this property, is now worth £100,000. Lenders will now be willing to lend you the money. Now, in this instance, what then happens is we now go to the other side, which is the refinance right there. The refinance is when you now take the property and say, Mr. Lender, this property, you couldn't lend me money towards it because it had this issue. Here we are, the property, I fixed the issue, is now worth what the property is expected to go for, which is now £100,000. Now, Mr. Lender will look at it and send a surveyor, and once they surveyed it and I say, yes, it's true, this property is now worth £100,000. I'm actually typing right here on my calculator to now find out what it is. So you spend £75,000. The lender will now say, what we're going to do is, because it's a property investment, you're not living in it, you need to leave 25% deposit in that property, which is, we will now give you 75% back. 75% of £100,000 is £75,000, which means that you now refinance based on the current value of property of £100,000. The lender will not give you £100,000 because they want you to put some deposit down and, you know, so have a bit of your own flesh in the investment. So £25,000 is the equity you own in that property. £75,000 they return to you and say, now we lend you. Remember, what was the cost that you spend in getting property initially, it was £75,000. So which means your £75,000 which you invested, you now get that money back, which means you now have the property. All the money you put to get that property is zero. That's what happens. It's now zero, right? You have two options. You could either sell it on and for £100,000 and get £25,000 as your returns, after of course, let's say £25,000, 20,000 per rather, as your after all costs £20,000, right? You could do that. But if you want to go to the place of refinancing and renting it, that's where you go to refinance and you get that £75,000 from the lender. The lender will give you £75,000. It means you get that, you own that property. Now you have a mortgage on it. Initially it was cash, you don't have a mortgage. You own that property for zero, right? Zero. It means you have not put anything to it. You have the property for free. This is what we call no money down. Sometimes you don't get the old money that you have your costs you've actually used to acquire property, and sometimes you get zero, and sometimes you even get cash back. Right, let's assume the property is now valued at £120,000, for example. It means you get some cash back on that front, and you can then go and use that money to do other property as well. Now, in the other R, which is last part of it, is you can rent it out, and then you start benefit from the cash flow that comes from renting that property out. First, you did not put any money into it yourself on this scenario, and also second, you are getting cash flow on a monthly basis. And over a period of time, the property can also increase in value, and then you end up having the equity that is increasing that property, and you can take some money out as well. This is what is called buy, refurbish, refinance, and rent. There's also buy, refurbish, refinance, and sell, which was, if for example, in this scenario, you can decide to sell that property and take your property out and move on from there. I hope this has been helpful to viewers out there, to help you to understand exactly what buy, refurbish, refinance work. I will encourage you, if you want to do that, work with professionals that are doing it, because it's not as simple as I've actually put through it. There are other things that you need to know. Don't just go and say, let me just go and do it. Yes, you can do it, but you need to work with people that know how to do this, and they can help you to structure it properly. If you need someone to work with you, click on the link in this video, and for free consultation, and we'll be able to have a chat based on your circumstance as well. Or you can reach out to us on LinkedIn, as Ellsworth Properties on LinkedIn, or you can go on Facebook as well, our Facebook page, Ellsworth Properties. Just type Ellsworth Properties there, or you can go on my Instagram page as well. Just DM me there, and I will come back to you there. Thank you very much. Until next time.